Hi everyone, I hope you're well. Right, we're going to create a project today where we are going to create almost a game. So I'm going to call it Clone War, but it's really good fun, and it just shows you different ways of doing and programming sprites to move. Okay, so this is a little bit more developed than the last time we did it. So the first thing I want you to do is just pop onto your backgrounds down here, just on the right here. Go and have a look, and I want you to go and find something that is a space background. So I want it to be like a stars so that you can see all the background here. Okay, next thing we're going to do, remember, keep pausing this if you need to, we're going to start developing our sprites. We want to get rid of this cat by just clicking on that cross, and we're going to go and find a spaceship. So we're going to look inside the library, and I'm going to go back to I'll go back to fantasy and just see if it's in fantasy. Now I'll go to all and I'll do spaceship. I think I'll use that one there. Okay, did you notice how I searched it in here? So sometimes, depending on, if you can't find the thing you're looking for, you can just do in a little search and find it there. So I'm going to grab that and pop that in. Okay, now what we want to try and do is, you can develop this little rocket if you want to. If you don't want it to be that colours, remember you can start changing the costumes. If we go over to the costume now, I'm going to convert to Bitmap, so it means that I can change it, use my flood fill. So this is the same on any paint program. You'll find this on every paint program. Go and find the colour that you want. So you might want it to be a certain colour. So I'm going to go green. I'm going to change it and have it in the green colour, and then I'm going to go and pick another colour, I think purple, a dark purple, and then I'm going to change the red. So just kind of have it the way you want it to be. And remember, these bars make things lighter or darker shades, so I'm going to use a darker purple for that. Now remember, if you change one costume, you might have to go back and change the other ones, okay, depending on how you're doing this. Okay, so just be aware of that. You might want to go in, use the same colours and just change your ship. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it like that for now so you can see it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head over to the code and I'm going to start programming this ship to move. Now he is a little bit big at the moment because he's got this burner at the bottom here, so I am going to just quickly adjust his size. I say his size, its size should I say. So I'm going to do 75%, which will hopefully, if I click on the code, remember, click on it to set it off, I'm going to set it to about 75%, and I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to get rid of it now. Okay, if you're not happy with that, just go back onto set size and change it. Remember, don't use change size because that'll keep changing it every time you press it. Okay, now leave that there for now. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get this rocket moving. So we have looked at this before now, but we're doing it in a slightly different way this time. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to head over and get our flag, because this flag is going to set the code off. Make it nice and big so you can see it. And I'm going to get a forever loop, because what I want to happen is every time I press on a button on my keyboard or on my iPad, I want this ship to move. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a slightly different way of doing this. I'm going to introduce you to this if command here. Okay, a condition. If I press something, something's going to happen. Okay, so we're going to fill this little shape in here. Okay, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. It's a hexagonal shape. Okay, but we've got to go across to our sensor button over here, and this is the button that we're going to use. Okay, so if we touch a certain key, or if a certain key is pressed, then we want the rocket to move. So I'm going to use this one here. So watch, I'm going to go down slowly. I know it's a bit bigger than the shape there, but I'm going to pop it. Can you see how that highlights, and I can stick it inside? So if I press, I'm going to go left first. If I press the left arrow, then I want the rocket to go left. Okay, now we looked at this before, where we said if a sprite is moving left and right, we call that the x-axis. If a rocket is going up and down, if a sprite's going up and down, that's the y-axis. So I'm going to concentrate on the left axis here. Okay, the x-axis should I say, to go left. So let's have a look. So if I press the left arrow, then I want the x-axis to change. So I'm going to head up to motion, to moving, motion moving, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to say change the x-axis, change x by. Now, I'm going to pop that in there. First of all, we're going to pop the code, we're going to grab it just by the if bit here, and we're going to pop it in here. Now, I'm going to press the left arrow on my keyboard. So you can do this on iPads because you put your keyboard up. Now, when I press the flag, when I press my left key, it's going right. So there's a bit of the code that's not working. The arrow has been pressed, that's fine, but it's this bit here that's not working. If a sprite goes left, it goes negatively. If it goes right, it goes positive. So we need to change this number to that's it, a takeaway 10. You're right. I could hear you telling me in the background there, which is fantastic. So, excellent. Now it's working. Right. We've got the rocket going left, but we haven't got the rocket going right. So I want you to now think and look at this code. I'm just going to press stop. What part of this code could we duplicate? What part of this code would we use again, but just adjust and change bits of it? I want you to have a think. Which bits of this would I change? Go through it, have a look and read it. Yep, you've got it. This bit here, okay? I want the same code again, but I want it just to change it for going right instead. So this is where I am a bit nifty. I go up to my if button here, and I know I want this bit here duplicated. So I'm going to click onto it, okay? And I'm going to, if I'm on an iPad or tablet, press down until this menu appears. If you're on a laptop or iPad or laptop or a computer, you right click on your mouse, okay, and duplicate. Can you see that it appears again? So all I do is I stick it underneath. And all I'm going to do now, and this is where you do need to check that you've done this, read through the code and change it to right. So if the key right arrow is pressed, then I change the x by 10. But remember, if we're going right, it's adding. So I just need to get rid of that takeaway. I'm just going to put in 10. Now, if I press play, and if yours doesn't work, it just means you haven't pressed your flag. When I press that flag now, it moves right and left. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to develop this spaceship that when I tell it to, it's going to fire missiles. Okay, now these missiles, well, they won't look like missiles, but they're going to be like pellets. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my sprite library, and I'm going to go and have a look for anything that looks as if it could be like a pellet or a bullet or something like that. Okay, now I've spotted that ball. I think I'm going to use that, okay, because I know it's too big at the minute, but I can change that. So you've spotted now you've got a rocket ship and the ball. The ball is a bit big. I want it to be a bit smaller. So I'm going to go back over to my looks, and I'm going to set my size, set not change, set size to. I'm going to try 50%, which is half of 100, so it should be half the size. Click on my code. Still a bit too big. I'm going to try 40 now. Oh, not 340, 40. Still too big. I'm going to try 30. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So that would obviously come from the rocket. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want that lightning bolt to hide until we tell it to appear. Okay. So this is something we're going to do. We're going to go up to our events and we're going to go and grab this button here. So this is the same button that our rocket ship was using before. So as soon as the game starts, we don't want the bullets to appear. So I'm going to go across here on my ball. Just check that. Always check which sprite you're programming. And I'm going to go to looks. And near the bottom down here, you might have to scroll down a bit on your iPad or laptop. We're just going to grab that hide button. So that will hide the bullet until we want it to show up. Okay. So I'm just going to click it and it's hidden. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, you wouldn't just have one bullet on a spaceship. okay, or one laser, you would have probably lots of them, and this is how we do it. So I'm just going to pull that set size to 3. Now I've agreed with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create what I call a clone, like clone army, lots of the same thing. Okay, so we're going to head over to our events button here. Actually, no, we'll stay here on our control because you can just see it at the very bottom here. When I start as a clone, okay, this is a new button that you haven't used before. Okay, just at the bottom here. What I want the clone to do is that sprite, that ball that I'm going to use as a bullet, I'm going to ask it to stay next to the ship. It's going to start next to the ship and then it's going to head out from the ship. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my sensors, sorry, my motion, and I'm going to ask it. Oh, it was sensors. I was right before. So I'm going to go over to my motion and I'm going to find the button that says go to random position. Don't ever be put off by it having something slightly different written there, because look, there's a drop down and you can change all of those. So I'm going to say grab that and pop it in, and we're going to ask it when it appears as a clone to go to the rocket ship because that's where it belongs. Okay. We also know that at the minute that bullet, that missile, is hidden. So what we want to do is go over to our looks. We want to do the opposite of hide, which is show. We want it to show up. So as soon as it goes to the rocket, we want it to show up. Okay. Now this is the fun bit. Okay. We want it to keep on firing these clones, firing these bullets. Okay. So we're going to go back to our control button and we're going to go and grab a repeat button so that we can keep this happening. Okay. So I'm going to go and grab this one. This is one we haven't used, repeat until. We want to pull that on. And you might notice it's got a little block here that we need to fill in. Okay, so we need to get the correct hexagon to fill that in. So we're going to go across to my sensors here. And we want the missile, if it is touching, I'm going to grab that one there. If it's touching the edge of the screen, if it's touching the edge of the rocket, it's going to change its position. Okay, it's going to move up the y-axis. So it's going to, as soon as it touches this rocket here, it's going to move up the y-axis and fire. Okay, you might have played games like this before. I know I have. So what we want now is we're going to use the motion button. We're going to go down to the change, but we need to use the change Y by. Okay. Now, as soon as that little bullet has gone away and it hits the edge of the screen there, we want this clone to be deleted. Okay, we don't want it to be flying around a bullet, flying around space like this. We want it to fire, go off and end, fire, go off and end, fire, go off and end. So we want to use right at the bottom where we've got that clone button, we're going to do delete this clone. I'm going to stick it on. Okay. So if we test that code, when I click on the code here, I can see the bullet, the missile leaving, but I want to have a bit more control of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in another little bit of code just so that I can have control over it firing. Okay, so we're going to go up to our events button like this, and I'm going to use this one here, the space bar. Now you can decide, but remember what button you've programmed. I'm going to keep it to when the space bar is pressed, but if you want to change it to when A is pressed or when F is pressed for fire or when 1 is pressed, that's totally up to you. I'm going to keep it as space bar. Okay, when the space bar is pressed, I'm going to tell it to create a clone. Okay, so did you notice how I went into control here and I'm just gone all the way to the bottom? Create a clone of myself, not of the rocket ship, of myself, because I am the sprite. So I am the bullet. So now when I press the space bar, you'll see that I've got control. No matter how many times, if you hear me, you might be able to hear me pressing the button in the background. Okay, no matter how many times I press that button, that number of bullets appears. So I'm going to just press stop there. Okay, and have a go at that and just see if you can move your ship left and right Remember to press your green flag to get it to move. Can you fire? Yeah, like this. So let's look at what we might be firing at, because obviously we're out in space and we want it to fire at something, okay? So head back over into your library. Now this might be slightly different depending on what you choose, okay? I'm going to choose something in fantasy because I want it to be like an alien. You could have a hippo if you wanted to. I'm just having a look at what there is. I'm almost thinking like something like a meteor flying through space, and have a look. I don't want it to be a nice little creature. Who am I going to choose? He doesn't look very nice. I know he's a ghost, but I'm going to pretend he's an alien. Right, I'm going to use him. Okay, so I'm going to pop him up there. So now we've got 3 sprites. Now I can see that he is probably a little bit too big. So this is a way of changing the sprite size without pulling the code on. So I want him to be a reasonable size, and I might change him to a different color as well. So if I head down here where it's got size, you can change that. So I'm going to change that to 50, so that's half the size. And can you see I pressed enter to get it to work? So 50 is about a right size. It's a bit, you know, he's not too small, but he's not too big. I want to be able to hit him. Okay, I'm going to see if I can. You can't do this for every costume, for every sprite. I'm going to just go to his costume and I'm going to change him because I don't like that colour. I might, ooh, that gives me an idea. I'm going to go down to convert to bitmap. I'm going to, because I want it to be like a slimer green, bright green. Right, let's see if I click on it. Ah, that's better. I can see him a bit better now. So you can adjust this, but I'm going to quickly just go to all my sprites because I might decide to use those later. Okay, change his arms as well. Remember, all I did was I clicked on that and I've just gone on and changed them. So have a little bit of a play, stop the tutorial if you need to, and just do your little adjustments to your character, and then you carry on playing it as soon as you're ready. Okay, I'm going to go back to code now, and I'm going to start thinking about getting this character, this sprite, this ghost or alien to move across the screen when I ask it to. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some clones of this little creature as well, because if I fire at him once and I get him, then it's not going to be very much fun if it's only one. So I'm going to head over to my events and I'm going to go and grab a flag. Okay, this is going to mean that as soon as I set this code off, I can move this, and also something will happen to this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab a repeat button. I think I'll use a forever loop for this one. I'm going to ask the computer to, let's find it in the events there. In control, there we are, sorry, top of control, we're going to wait. I think we'll wait 3 seconds before a clone appears, okay? And then I'm going to go and create a clone of myself. So when this is clicked, forever, we're going to wait 3 seconds and then a clone of me will appear, okay? Now, the one thing is this clone is in one position at the minute, so we need to do a bit of coding to get this sprite to move around the screen. Okay, so we'll do that in a moment. We also, when this clone appears, what we want to do is get this clone to randomly move around the screen, this ghost or alien. Okay, so we're going to get him to do this and move around the screen so I can fire at him. So it's a bit more interesting. So when I start, we're going to go over to this control button again. When I start as a clone, we're going to do something now where we're going to think about where his position is, okay, where we get him to move. So I'm going to head over to this blue button, and there is a motion button that says go to X, Y, okay. Now this is the fun part. I'm going to grab this in, I'm going to pull it in. Now, we want this creature to stay along the top here. We don't want him to come down here like that, otherwise he's going to be behind the spaceship. So I want him to stay along the top here. So what I want you to do is just look at this number here that I'm highlighting. As I move it across, it stays the same, okay? It will stay roughly the same, around 132, but this number changes quite a lot. So I'm going to say, and it depends on your iPad, I'm going to say, right, I want you to stay along that line, which looks to me like it's about 134. So y is equal to 134. So I'm going to go up to here, y is equal to 134. So you're going to stay along that line here, but I want you to randomly go anywhere on this x-axis. So you can, he has to stay here on this line, okay, but I want him to appear there, or I want him to appear here or there or here or there, and that's called the x-axis because that's along here, okay? So this is the bit we're going to focus on now, and this is the fun bit, okay? So we're going to go across here to pick operator, and we're going to use this pick random button. I'm going to not put it in there yet because I want to change some of these numbers. So I want him to appear anywhere from here, which is take away 230 to over here, and I'm checking this number here to maybe 230. So he can appear anywhere from minus 230 over here, take away 230 to 230 over there, anywhere on that x-axis. So I'm going to grab this and put it, and look, can you see it highlights? Stick it inside there. So when I start as a clone, I can move along here anywhere, but I have to stay at that position on the Y. I'm not allowed to come down. I've got to stay up there out the way, okay? I also want, which is going to be something really important, I want this to appear, okay? So I'm going to pop into looks, and I'm going to pick the word show and pop that in there. Now, at the beginning of the game, I do want this clone to hide, so I'm just going to go and grab hide. When I'm at the beginning, you're going to hide forever. You're going to wait 3 seconds and make a clone. When I start the clone, you're going to pick where you're going to go to, okay? So I'm just going to press the flag. Oh, there he is. There he is. Now I want you to be thinking about what you want this creature to do, because it's appearing where you tell it to, but there's something about it that we could adjust. So I want you to have a think about that. Right, I'm going to stop that now. So all of those have disappeared because I've stopped the game. It's the speed at which they come on. They're a bit, it's almost, we would describe it as laggy, wouldn't we, if we were looking at something? It seems as if it's a bit happening too slow. So what we're going to do is create something called a variable, which something we're going to control. A variable is something you control, okay? So if I head over, and we're going to control how quickly something comes on, so we call that the speed. So if you look at this orange button down here, don't worry about what these say because we're going to make a variable here. So what I do is I click on here and I type in speed, S-P-E-E-D. And we want it not for all the sprites but for only this sprite. So we must click on there, okay? We just want it for the alien. So I'm going to click OK, okay? Now, I want to set my speed, okay? So I'm going to go over here, and I always change it here before I move it across, otherwise sometimes I forget. Set speed. So I'm going to pull this across onto the top of here, and at the minute the speed is 0. So I want to have a bit of a decision as to how quickly. I want it to sometimes move quickly, sometimes move slowly. So I'm going to go back to my operators, and I'm going to pick that random button again, the one we used before, and I'm going to stick it in there. And I'm going to say, right, well, I want you to move from anything between speed 2 to speed 4. That might change depending on what you decide. You can have a play around with it, okay? Now I'm going to press go. Go speed is there. Now, happy enough with that, I might decide to increase that speed. I'm going to maybe say 4 and 10. Stop it, play it. Yep, that's looking a bit better. Now this is the fun bit. What we're going to do is we're going to get this alien to move around the screen a little bit more, so it's harder. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll head over here and have a look at the control buttons, and we're going to use, where is it, repeat until. Okay, so you're setting some kind of code. I'm going to stick it in here, set some code, do this until I tell you to stop, in other words. Okay, so repeat until. So what we want to do is we want to get this creature moving around until we hit it with a missile or a ball. Okay, so I'm going to go across to my sensors and I'm going to say, I want you to carry on doing this until you're touching, and I'm going to change this to my ball. Now this will differ depending on what you've chosen. So if you've chosen a lightning or a pellet or a green ball, it's up to you. Whatever you've chosen, I want you to do this until the ball touches you. Okay. Now what do I want you to do? I want you to move around the screen at the speed that I tell you to. So I want you to set that speed. So move around, and remember these interchangeable, you can change this number 10. So I'm going to go across to my variable and grab the speed button, stick it in there like that. So do this until the ball touches you. I want you to move around at the speed, I think it was, I chose 4 to 10. I'm going to ask you to, if you hit the sign, if the alien hits the sign, I'm going to ask it to, if it's on the edge, bounce. Where is that one? There. So I'm in motion, I go all the way down. If you're on the edge, bounce. But what I want you to do is delete this clone if it gets hit. So I'm going to grab that. So did you see I went on to control, went straight to the bottom, delete this clone. Now let's read through it. We're going to have the clone coming on. We've chosen its speed. We know it's going to randomly go round on the x-axis. It's going to move and it's going to show up. What we wanted to do is we want it to carry on moving around at that speed until it gets hit with the ball. So let's press go. Well, there he is. He's moving around. So if you want it to happen quicker, you could change this speed up here and you can reset the speed. Oh, there's loads of them now. Look, they're moving even quicker. Right, so the final bit of code is going to be that when my ball, and you'll notice I've changed to the ball here over here, when this hits the ghost or the the hippo or whatever you've chosen, that hippo will disappear. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, again, this little flag. I'm going to pull it down. Don't worry that you've got a number of these happening, because these are all different bits of programming that are going to set off at different times. We're going to then go across to our control button, grab on this wait until. So just follow me down slowly. There, this one, we've not used this one before. So I'm going to pop that in. So I'm going to tell this ball, wait until you're touching the ghost, okay, and then something's going to happen. So I'm going to go across to my sensors. I'm going to grab that touching one again, pull it down into my box, into my hexagonal shape, should I say, and I'm going to say, wait until you're touching the ghost. So wait until the ball is touching the ghost, and then I'm going to broadcast the message. So we've done a bit of broadcasting. I'm going to pop up to my events, and just at the bottom of events there's this broadcast button here. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to change the message. And I'm going to say it's a new message and it's going to be called hit. It. Remember, any of this that you're struggling with, pause it, rewind it, go back and look at it again and just make sure you understand it, because I'm going to read through it all. So the ball is being told, wait until the game starts, but when you're touching a ghost, we're going to broadcast the word hit, okay? But we need to send the message to the ghost. So I'm going to click on the ghost. Now, the ghost is going to receive the message. When you get hit, I need you to hide. Okay? So when I receive, I'm going to go up to my events. When I receive hit, there it is, I need to hide. So I'm going to go up to my looks and press hide. Now, I'm going to press go. Let's run all this code. Stop and go. I'm going to try left and right. It's working. I'm going to fire. Oh, got it. There, got it. Now, to remember, the speed changes, so there you are. So you've got your game. A really good start.